All right, hello everybody. This is going to just be a review of what we did before we left for break, part of it. So we're going to review mean, median, mode, and percentile. Sorry. And again, this is going to be information that especially getting the mean, things like that will be important later. So let's just take this for an example. We all know that somehow, for some reason, toilet paper has become a hot commodity. And so let's say, hypothetically, that a sample of 6 households bought the same amount of toilet paper, and we call that toilet paper brand A. And after the coronavirus pandemic, the households reported how many months the toilet paper lasted. So we have data on 6 households. This household reported that the amount they bought lasted them 35 months. This household reported 45 months, 30, and so on. Okay. All right. So the mean, median, and mode are measures of central tendency. So we're going to see where they tend to be centralized. And usually the easiest one, kind of moving backwards, would be the mode. So again, the mode is the number that occurs the mostest or most often. And usually that's pretty easy to find. We only have 6 numbers. You know, sometimes with more numbers, it'd be a little bit more challenging. But in this case, we see that 35 repeats itself 2 times, and nothing else occurs 2 times. So 35 occurs the most. Now, if each number only occurred once, then, or maybe let's say each number only all occurred 2 times, they all occurred in the same amount of time, then there wouldn't be a number that is more or less than another. So that would be a no mode situation. You can have multiple modes. So if we had 2 35s and we happen to have 2 45s, then we would have something called bimodal. So we would have 2 modes as our answer. We would have 35 and 45. But generally speaking, usually in these cases, we just have 1. And the mode is 35 because it occurs twice, more than any other number. And we know from our box plots that to get our median, that is the middle number. And in order to get that, all of our numbers have to be in order. So start with the smallest and list them in order. And we have 6 numbers. Yeah. And so if we have an even amount of numbers, that means we're going to have 2 middles. So we don't have one particular number that divides it evenly in half. So we have to find the 2 middles and average them out. So if we count inwards, we see that when we get to the middle, these 2 numbers taken together split this in half, meaning that there's 2 numbers below here and 2 numbers above here. So this is symmetric. So generally speaking, the process is we're going to add the 2 numbers and divide by 2. But again, we have the same number. So again, it just comes out to be that. So the median is 35, just like mode. And then for the mean, we have a symbol for that. So a lot of times the symbol for mean for a sample will be X bar. And again, we just add them up and divide by how many numbers we have. So nice thing is we don't have to have them in order, but not bad if we do, I guess. So we add them all up and divide by how many we have. We have 6 numbers. And again, this is where you want to be careful about how you enter it into the calculator. So we have 25 plus 30, and my cat is walking close by. Okay, so because we know that we want to get the sum first, and then we divide. But if we put this in the calculator like this, please get out of here, move. All right, you're gonna see a lot of this guy, I think. Sorry, guys. All right. So if we are entering this into our calculator, and we're like add, and at the end, if we hit divide by 6, your calculator is going to do exactly what you're telling it to do. So what you're telling it to do is use order of operations, because that's what it does. And it would divide before we add. So it would divide these two numbers first, and then add everything. And that's not how we want to go. So we want to get the sum first. So add it, and then divide by the number of numbers. So we had 6 numbers. Okay. So we get 35. So the sum was 210. We divide by 6. So our mean is 35. So magically, you notice that everything, mean, median, mode, turn out to be the same number. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So again, also with things like a grouped mean, if you have information grouped, we had to do that lovely table getting the midpoint. The thing to remember is that for averages, you're always dividing at the end. So you're always having to divide by something. So don't forget that. So when we look at percentiles, then this is also a case where we have to have our numbers in order. And just like the word says, percent, that does mean out of 100. However, we do not have 100 numbers. So we would have to use a formula to tell us how many spaces to count to get to that number in that percentile that we're looking for. So that formula, if I remember correctly, which earlier I forgot, but the formula that we've been using looks like this. And I is just telling us how many spaces to count to get to your answer. Hopefully you can read that. Okay, there we go. And K is the percentile that you're looking for. And N is the number of numbers that you have. Not going to work out, Ace, is it? So let's say when we look at this set of data, we know that when we found the median of 35, the median is the middle. So the middle is 50%. So we know that our median here was 35. So we know that anything below this is going to be lower than the 50th percentile, and anything above that is going to be above the 50th percentile. But again, we have a very small set of data, so kind of hard to get the little numbers in there. But let's say we want to find the 35th percentile. I lied. We don't want to use 35 because we have 35 all over the place for this. So how about instead we want to find the 40th percentile. So we're wondering what's the number in the 40th percentile. So we're going to put 40 in for K because that's what is given. We have 6 numbers, so our N is 6. And in the formula, it always is +1, so that's always there. So 40 over 100 reduces, or in decimal form is 0.4 or 0.40, however your calculator shows it, and 6 plus 1 is 7. So when we put that in the calculator, we get 2.8. Ooh, there we go, 2.8. Now, we have a number in the second spot and we have a number in the third spot, but we don't have a number in a 2.8 spot. So this is where we are going to have to average them. So we count to the second number, and rounding up, we count to the third number, count to third, and then we're going to add those and divide by 2. We divide by 2 since we have 2 numbers. So the second number is 30. The third number is 35. So we add those, divide by 2, 65 divided by 2, and I believe that should be 32.5. Okay. So 32.5 is a number that would correlate to the 40th percentile. So it's okay to get a number that's not listed there. That happens a lot. All right. So that was crash course review in mean, median, and mode and percentile. And next I'm going to do a review on standard deviation and variance. So stay tuned.